So talking about the real GDP and nominal GDP. GDP means price into quantity, price, general price level of all goods and services, and the quantity of production or output in the economy. So now if real GDP means, if I take the real GDP of 2026 and I want to make a comparison whether my GDP has increased or not from 2021, that is a gap of 5 years. So what happens? My 2021 is the base year, 2026 is the current year. Already you people have done index number in class 11, remember? In statistics last chapter. So now, say I'm doing, I want to find out the nominal GDP of 2026. So price and quantity of 2026 to be multiplied. If I want to find out the real GDP of 2026 in comparison to 2021, I'm going to multiply the current quantity of 2026 with the price of 2021 so that I can actually understand whether the GDP has increased due to increase in production capacity or only increase in price. If it is only increase in price, then definitely it's not a good sign. That is the reason why real GDP is also called GDP at constant prices and nominal GDP is called GDP at current prices. And GDP at current constant price, that is real GDP, is actually the better measure of welfare of the country. Okay. Now what is important is overestimation and underestimation of GDP. Why do we say this? GDP and welfare. GDP is very high in a country. I have to see whether it is, what is the composition of that GDP? What are the externalities present? Whether the GDP is due to price rise only. Whether population increased with time, then GDP will also increase, but the per capita income will rise. So for each of these cases, there are situations of overestimation and underestimation of GDP. Now coming to numericals, I have shown 4 numericals of different types over here. If you get a numerical like this, sales by firm A 80 crores, sales by firm B 300 crores, value added by firm B and C are equal, and there is a whole lot of essay given over here. Children, what I would want you people is, you are going to pause over this particular sum. Clearly, you're going to pause over this particular sum. Over here, we are going to draw a flow chart like this. When I'm showing sales, the arrow will go out of the firm. From firm A, arrow has gone out. If it is input, like for firm B, it has gone out 280, coming in 160. If you can make the flow chart like this, then these types of sums become very, very easy to solve. The next type of numerical, calculate national income. NNPFC is national income. Domestic income is NDPFC. Remember, okay? Gross value added is gross domestic product. So, national debt interest not to be added, of course, wages and salaries, net current. Why have I done this sum? Because there is something called net factor income to abroad. Please notice this. Net factor income to abroad is minus 50 over here. But when we convert from domestic to national income, then what happens is that net factor income from abroad is added. That is NFIU. But in this particular sum, given is net factor income to abroad. So I'm not going to put the plus sign anymore. I'm going to write the minus sign here. And already the value is minus 50. So minus bracket minus 50. So practically instead of adding 50, instead of subtracting 50, because you see, if it would have been plus net factor income from abroad, it would have been plus of minus 50. So 1500 minus 50 would have become 1450. Now what is happening over here is, since it is net factor income to abroad given, just the opposite, instead of plus I'm going to use the minus sign, and already 50 is in minus, so minus minus plus. In this particular case, in place of 1450, your answer is coming to be 1550. So here is the catch. Please note whether net factor income to abroad is given or net factor income from abroad is given. Same goes for expenditure method component called net export. Whether net export is given or net import is given. Okay. Next sum. Find out national income by expenditure method and income method. Remember, in these types of sums, In income method I've started with, whose aggregate is NDPFC. Then I converted it into national income. For expenditure method, my thing is GDPMP. My aggregate is actually GDPMP because answer comes in GDPMP in expenditure method. Then I converted into national income. But what is to be seen over here is that whether it is expenditure method or income method, how will you understand your sum is correct? You will see that for the same aggregate, that is national income or NNPFC, your value is same, 1590, 1590. So just, see this sum once more. If necessary, note it down. I'm giving a pause over here. Moving on to the next one. Calculate closing stock and national income. These types of sums, what we do is that we try to see an aggregate first, then put a linear equation formula. But over here, there is something which is called net domestic fixed capital formation. See, in expenditure method, gross domestic capital formation component is divided into two parts. One is gross domestic fixed capital formation. The other part is investment expenditure or change in stock. Okay. Now, sometimes in place of gross domestic capital formation or net domestic capital formation is given, or net domestic fixed capital formation. To make it gross domestic capital formation, you see over here, we have to add the net domestic capital formation with depreciation, then net se gross ho jayega, plus change in stock is going to give me gross domestic capital formation as it is shown here. So in this way, what we find is that my gross domestic, my net domestic fixed capital formation has been added to change in stock and depreciation to get gross domestic capital formation. So please note what is given in the sum. If it is given net domestic capital formation, just add depreciation to get gross domestic capital formation. If it is given gross domestic fixed capital formation, you're going to just add up change in stock in order to get gross domestic capital formation. If it is given net domestic fixed capital formation, net fixed, both are there. For net, add depreciation. For only fixed capital formation, add up the change in stock to get gross domestic capital formation. And then we have done a simple, linear equation method, and we have aced the sum. See this ones? The entire sum is there for you. Moving on to the next one. Real GDP, nominal GDP. As I was just telling you, real GDP and nominal GDP sum. See, 2025 is my current year, 2020 base year. Real GDP of 2020 is price and quantity of 2020. No problem about that. Now, why have not I taken some other year before 2020? Because no base has been told to me. So, real GDP of 2020 will be price and multiplied by quantity of 2020. Nominal GDP of 2020 is same. But real GDP of 2025 will be quantity of 2025 but price of 2020. And nominal GDP of 2025 will be price and quantity multiplied of 2025 itself. So children, best of luck for your preparation. There are just 3 days in between. Please note down all the cranky areas where you can make mistake. If you have any problem, please comment in my YouTube channel or in the comment section of my Facebook handle or in the Instagram also, the handle name being the same everywhere, Economics with Nilanjana. Or ping me in the WhatsApp number 7739192552. I will send you either the solution of the sum if you ask me so, or give just a voice message in order to explain the facts to you. Thank you and have a good day.